Hey everybody, this is Matt from endsickness.org. Today I'm going to talk about natural ways to beat ADHD symptoms. I'll first discuss my ADHD background, the idea of looking for root causes versus just accepting the diagnosis, the role that food sensitivities, limbic system, and environment has to play in the ADHD symptoms, deep breathing, supplements, how these things can help, and the dangers of ADHD medication. So I'll cover all those things. And first, let me say I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical information. This is based upon my personal experiences. This is for informational and educational purposes only. So first, my ADHD background. I was diagnosed when I was 9 years old. They put me on Ritalin, put me on medication early on in my life. It dramatically impacted the trajectory in my life. Yeah, at the time, maybe it helped me sit still. Maybe it increased my focus a little bit more, but there were a lot of issues that came from being put on medication at a young age. It led to a lot of problems later in my life. So I'll talk about that later, but I definitely was diagnosed very early in my life with ADHD. It was significant. It was more on the more significant scale of ADHD. I was hyperactive, unable to focus. The list goes on. But this was early in childhood. So I never understood the concept of root causes. I just accepted the diagnosis. I was, I have ADHD. This is the reason I feel this way. I must need medication. It's because I have this condition, right? That led me to believe something was wrong with me, that something was broken about me, that I needed medication to be normal. It was not a good place to be in my head. So I refused to look at the root causes. But eventually I learned, as for going through my illness, that my brain fog was getting better. My attention span was increasing. I was able to do things I couldn't do before just simply by changing my diet, changing my environment, certain supplements, etc. So that's why I wanted to talk about today. First, food sensitivities were the most important thing when it comes to food, when it comes to ADHD. The foods that were the biggest issues were your eggs, dairy, nuts, seeds, processed foods, too much meat, gluten. Those things were obvious issues. When I would eat too many of those, I would get fogginess in my head. I would feel like I need ADHD medication just to even function, right? Limbic system activation was another one. I would end up, taking ADHD medication. My mind would be racing, and then I would end up not sleeping well, right? And I would end up not repairing. I would end up not being able to relax and restore. So my mind was always racing. My limbic system was always activated. And it was because of either stressors in my life, the feeling, the medication I was on, the perception of danger or threat in my environment, the foods I was eating, the environment I was living in, the mycotoxins I was inhaling, all these things played into limbic system activation. So I had to realize that that was part of it, along with the food sensitivities. Environmental triggers, okay? Mycotoxins, smells in the air like chemicals, fragrances, cooking smells, all these things affect your hyperactivity. If you're a hyperactive person, you don't realize that the mast cells are the cause of this ADHD symptoms. They're the ones that are driving the inflammation that's prohibiting you from having sufficient dopamine. You're having way too much histamine, not enough dopamine, and that's leading to the hyperactivity and the inability to focus. So environmental triggers like mycotoxins, food, the fragrances, things like that, those all matter. The things that are really most important, the most helpful to me, other than eliminating these irritants, was deep breathing, slow deep breathing through the nostrils, eliminating your stress through breathing, meditation, healing frequencies. These things were critical. I go over these in my other videos. Supplements, plant-based magnesium, plant-based zinc, plant-derived omega-3 DHA, DPA. These things are all of absolute critical importance. Olive leaf extract, things like that. These things are all really good for reducing neurological inflammation and supporting dopamine production, supporting normal function in the brain. I want to talk about the dangers of ADHD medication, okay? I was on ADHD medication. It can definitely make you become dependent on it. It can cause you to have ups and downs in your life. It can cause you to become dependent on other medications, other substances. It could cause you to seek instant gratification in your life, in your foods, in your relationships. It could cause so many different things. It's kind of you can't begin to put into words, all right? So ADHD medication is a risk. It is not something that is just, it's a solution. There are downsides to it over the long term. It does change the way your brain functions, and it is a stimulant. It's a stimulant. So how bad do you want it? Are you willing to get rid of the foods I'm talking about? Your dairy, your nuts, your seeds, your gluten, your eggs, your too much meat. Are you willing to do that to get over ADHD? Are you willing to start doing deep breathing? Are you willing to take supplements like magnesium? Are you willing to meditate? Are you willing to look at your environment and see if mycotoxins are an issue? Are you willing to change your behaviors and your habits to get over the ADHD? If you're not, then you're going to be stuck in this cycle where you're going to feel that you need this medication, you're going to justify it because of the way you feel, and you'll just be stuck in this endless cycle of dependence on medication. The condition itself is driven by inflammation, it's driven by mast cells, it's not driven by some ADHD word that was created. So join my page, go to my website, endsickness.org. I got plenty more information how to overcome ADHD, chronic illnesses, mental health conditions, mast cell activation, histamine intolerance, etc. Thanks for watching, everybody.